Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Lydia Hanks, and I'm here with an alumnus of the Dedman School, Ryan Flannery. Ryan, welcome, and thanks for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's fun to be here, even if I'm not physically at the stadium in the classrooms with everybody. But no, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you putting me on your computer screens for just a little bit today. But yeah, I'm the director of rooms operations at the Westin, New York, at Times Square, and you say that 3 times in a row fast.
Wonderful, thanks. Well, tell us a little bit about how you got there. Start with your career path from when you were at the Dedman School and what happened to you next.
So I was fortunate when I got to Florida State. I knew what I wanted to do, and a lot of people
Okay.
when they get to college have no idea what they want to do. So I knew I was going to do the hotel school if I got in, starting junior year, senior year, and um, so after freshman year of college, I took my first serving job at a restaurant in New York. And after 4 hours, I almost quit and said, it's time to do something else. It was tough. It was really tough. But from there, I went to bartending, bar backing, everything I could pick up in that restaurant I did. They had 3 floors. It was really cool. It was like a fish shack and then a banquet space and then a Michelin-starred restaurant up top. So it was a crazy, unique experience. Came back to school, worked at the Renaissance New York in Times Square, front desk agent, answer phone, again, whatever. If somebody needed a coffee, I went out to Dunkin' Donut. Like I just wanted to learn and do more. Came back to school, got into the hotel school, did the hotel program. That following summer, I interned at the Ritz-Carlton, New York Central Park, as a rooms division intern. And I'm starting to see like, oh, I guess I scared myself away from food and beverage. I had a great experience there. That's one of the best hotels in the world. It's iconic. And then came back, had an awesome time in the program. Dr. Farr, it's weird. I call him Don. I'm just call him Don. Don convinced us to do the study abroad program. So I did that. If anybody has the means, ability to do it, if you're on the fence to do it, do it. It was incredible. Based in Switzerland, traveling. We went to 10 different countries that summer. It's so unique, and so many other programs don't have access to things like that. That was an awesome experience. You learned a whole lot there. Then came back to Tallahassee, worked at the Loft in Tallahassee. It had just recently opened. And that was my first experience in a select service hotel, which I came right off of Ritz-Carlton. So 5-star, 5-diamond to select service. That was very different. I was the front desk agent, bartender, server. I learned how to use I forget what those little ovens are called now. I think I blocked it out of my memory. Turbo Chef. I learned how to use a Turbo Chef, my new best friend. And that was an awesome experience too. But unfortunately, all good things have to come to an end, and I graduated. I could have spent 4 more years, but right after I graduated, I went down to the Harbor Beach Marriott in Fort Lauderdale, and that's a beautiful, beautiful hotel right on the beach. And landed my first role as a front desk supervisor. I really wanted to get into a leadership role. It didn't really matter what, but I wanted to do that, and I had a great experience with Marriott, so that was a great fit. And then from there, just through different connections, my boss down there went to California to the Ritz-Carlton Marina Del Rey, and I followed him there in Los Angeles, and I was a food and beverage supervisor there. So I guess I didn't get too scared from food and beverage at that point. Became food and beverage manager at that hotel, completely redid the restaurant. And then, like the West Coast was kind of far. Spent 2.5 years out there. I felt the need to come home. That's when I moved back to the Marriott Marquis, which is just across the street from the Renaissance. And I was there for 5 years in a few different roles. And it's a big hotel, so I didn't think I was going to be there for 5 years, but it's a big hotel, so I had the opportunity to do a lot of different things. I was restaurant manager, director of restaurants for the casual restaurants, director of restaurants for the fine dining restaurant up at the top of the view. And that was an awesome experience. It was a great hotel. I could have spent 5 more years there. It felt like college. But all things come to an end, and I found myself here in January at the Westin, New York, at Times Square as the director of rooms operations. So things kind of came full circle. I think when I worked at the Renaissance, now 2020, 11 years ago, I said, I'm never going to work in Times Square again. And this is my third Times Square hotel. Naked Cowboy's still there. He's just a little older. SpongeBob's still there. He looks the same. But it's been a really unique, incredible experience. It's taken me from New York to Florida to California back to New York.
Wow, that sounds amazing. You've seen so much, and sounds like you had a pretty good time, no matter what you were doing.
Yeah, it's been a great experience.
Good. All right. So that's all been with Marriott. So you said that you felt like it was a really good fit for you. So tell me a little bit about that. Why do you feel like Marriott's a great fit for you?
It's a unique company in that it's massive. I mean, when we started this conversation, there's probably 4 or 5 more hotels that have been built. There's some statistic out there that there's another hotel built every few minutes. It's definitely over 6,000 now. It's probably over 7,000.
Wow.
It's a lot globally. And for a company that large, the integrity that they still operate with, how they treat their people, it's a very honest company. You hear, if you do the right thing, the good things are going to happen to you. And from the time in my career, from the interactions that I've had with other people that I've had myself, I've always found that to be true. And it's easier to operate honest, and it's easier to do the right thing. And I've felt that they've taken very good care of me when you do those things.
Great. Well, that's really good to hear. Well, let's talk about the hospitality industry in general. So what do you love about it? What are the favorite aspects of your jobs, any of the jobs that you've had?
So I didn't get to do what my favorite part was. I didn't know what my favorite part was until maybe 3 or 4 years ago when I was at the Marquee.
Okay.
My favorite part now is developing leadership. And at the beginning of your career, it's a lot about learning and when not knowing when you don't know something, to say I don't know instead of not saying that. But I really love mentoring other people, and I love watching people grow, and I love watching people take roles that are, I'm like, oh man, I'd report to you if I was at that hotel. That's awesome. It feels great. It's great to see friends that I made in Los Angeles become, and say friends, they were people that reported to me. They were my supervisors there when I was manager, and they're becoming directors of restaurants here, directors of outlets here. It's so fun developing people and having the opportunity to watch them grow and share what I know with them and learn more from them as well. Because, you take this industry where the people that I'm working with in my hotel now are from over 40 something countries. That's wild. So you're going to learn a lot from a lot of different people. And I just find so much, I take so much of watching people grow in their career after working with them and saying, hopefully I had a little part in that.
Wow. Wonderful. Well, what's your least favorite part?
It was very difficult at first, working weekends, holidays, nights. That's everybody that comes into the industry fresh out of college or coming from high school. It's a really difficult change for people who I love holidays. I can't wait for football this weekend. Like I hope we wipe Georgia Tech off the field, but those things that you miss out on are difficult. I'm not going to lie and say, yeah, it's great. I love working weekends and holidays, but the more that you, what I found in my career is that I went all in, right? I met somebody who fortunately understands that and supports my career. And at the end of the day, now where I sit, I have some weekends off. I work more mornings and holidays than nights. And it's a really rewarding feeling going in and making somebody's weekend or making somebody's Thanksgiving or watching on New Year's Eve. It's the coolest thing in the world, watching the ball drop from New Year's Eve and watching all these people with stars in their eyes walk back into the hotel after they saw the ball drop in Times Square. They probably got stars in their eyes because they've been there since 8 o'clock in the morning. But it's cool making those experiences for people, but I wouldn't be telling the truth if I told you it's difficult sometimes when you're leaving the party on Thanksgiving to go say, all right, I'm going to go close the restaurant right now. But you're making somebody's day, and that makes me feel good.
Now, let me ask you, including the internships, or you have to count here, including your internships that you had while you were at Dedman, how long have you been out of school?
I graduated in December 2011.
2011. Okay, so 9 years about. How many different roles have you had?
Since graduating?
Well, no, including the internships.
Including internships? I'm going to do some counting here. 1, 2, 13.
13 roles in 9 years. That's amazing. Well, 10 years, including while you were at school.
Right.
Amazing. All right. So you've really advanced. You started out as what, the dishwasher guy or the waiter?
I was making at BLT Fish Shack. I was making cappuccinos and latte. And I didn't know the difference between cappuccinos and lattes.
The coffee guy. All right. So you started as the coffee guy, and here you are now. So how did you advance your career so quickly? Now, you've mentioned a few of the things, but I want to hear your philosophy on how you advanced your career.
It starts with hard work. You have to work hard. You have to be willing to make the sacrifices in this industry. It's not a 9-to-5 office job. It never has been and never will be. It doesn't matter what role you're in the hotel industry. It's never going to be a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And there's some people that work in the industry, not a lot, but some people don't understand that. It's important to understand that when you get into the industry. The expectation is going to be that if the phone rings at 2:00 in the morning, because I'm having flashbacks here, but if the phone rings at 2:00 in the morning because the overnight cook walked off the job and you run the restaurant, guess what? You're back there making shrimp cocktail and fries and burgers because you've got a professional hockey team in the hotel. So there are some things like that it's important to understand going to the industry. But it's also important to operate honestly and operate with integrity. It's a very transparent industry. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what you're talking about, if you're not doing the right thing, people find out quickly. Most of my day is spent talking to people. It's not spent behind the screen of a computer. So it becomes apparent pretty quickly if I'm interacting with hundreds of people every day and I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know what I'm doing. Having my open ears when people are talking, when I'm talking, having opening ears, working hard and being flexible. Right now is a perfect example of that. We're doing a lot of work from home when we're not really working. We're looking at what our operating models are going to be going back. Things are going to be very different. I might be in charge of rooms, but I'd be surprised if I wasn't back in the restaurant every once in a while, doing who knows what. So, having that flexibility, the willingness to go above and beyond, it's not rocket science. It's really not. But it can be a really fun industry if you give it everything that you've got.
Thanks. I want to go back to something that you said earlier. You said that right now your favorite part of your job and of the industry is mentoring those people right underneath you and helping them develop leadership skills. So I'm curious, did you have any mentors as you came up through the industry? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've had some really great ones. Debbie Croce, who was the director of human resources at Ritz-Carlton Central Park. Don and Dr. Primer were always awesome. My director of restaurants at the Ritz-Carlton Marina Del Rey, is awesome human being. When I got out to Los Angeles, it was weird. It was scary. I never lived in Los Angeles before. I went there for like a weekend once maybe. So he really took me under his wing. He wasn't afraid to beat me up, not like physically beat me up, but he was quick to correct me when I made mistakes, and he was quick to always point me in the right direction and praise when I did the right thing. And that's what people need. People need to be praised. So he was so great to me. He still remains a dear friend today. And then when I got to the Marriott Marquis, our director of food and beverage there is a man by the name of George McNeil, and he is one of, I couldn't tell you the number, but it's somewhere around 100 certified master chefs in the world. So he's cooked for the Queen, he's cooked for the presidents. If you go into his office, his wall is just decorated with medals, awards, photos, and he took me. I mean, I worked with him for 5 years, and he was a very good guiding force. He's always checking in to see how my wife and daughter are. It's funny, he'd be laughing right now if I told this story, but we had our baby last May. We were in the hospital for 2 days, and I was at work, and I ran down to his office. I was like, I gotta go. Here's all the stuff for the menu. Here's what you need. We're rolling out a new menu the day that I had a baby. So I give him this book of everything that we have. Get to the hospital, have the baby, everything's great. We get out of the hospital 2 days later, and we're at our house, and it's quiet. Got a new baby. Like, what do we do with it? And and I hear a knock on the door. So I look out the window, and I'm like, is there already? And I see my uncle's car. I'm like, oh, that's nice. My uncle lives in town. He's probably stopping by to see the kids, but he hates our dogs. So, and we love, about our family, we love our dogs.
I know that.
So I opened the door and I yelled at the dogs, get him. And I had this look of terror in my face when I saw that my uncle was still in his car. And it was George at our door that came to say congratulations and bring over food. So, like, a great impression. Our house is a wreck, and the dog just attacked my boss, who's this certified master chef. I'm so sorry. Come on in. It's a mess. But that's the type of, for me, those are the important types of mentors, because at the end of the day, like, hotels can be brick and mortar and buildings, but it's more about the people that are inside of them that make the difference. And it is a fine line between, you don't want to fraternize with people outside of work and get too friendly with them, but it's a very emotional, personal relationship that you have to have with people in the industry. So to have those kinds of mentors that you can have that type of relationship with is really important, because I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Like, that's not something you're going to forget about somebody that I loved working for him. He was intense. He was really tough to work for, like, very, very, very tough to work for. Really tough to work for, but I'd work for him again in a heartbeat, because of the way that he treated me, the way he treated my family, the way that I saw him operate with integrity at the hotel. Like, that's the type of person that if he gives me a phone call and says, you need to listen to this, I'm going to listen to it.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit more about that baby. So how old is she now?
She's a year and 4 months.
Okay, and you have a wife. So how do you manage? You sound like you work a lot, and you are working better schedules now than you were when you started, but I know that you're busy, and I know the schedules can be unpredictable. So how do you manage your work life and your personal family life? Well, in addition to them, you have your mom, dad, your sister, brother-in-law, and two nieces and nephews in town too,
Everywhere.
right?
Yeah.
Plus another sister. So how do you manage all of that and your work schedule and your work life?
So it was, honestly, it was difficult at first. Everybody has to learn their own balance and learn how to do it. When we lived in California and we were far away from family, it was really difficult to balance that. Mm-hmm. But over the years, you learn, right? So a perfect example is in our last year in California, Thanksgiving came, and it was super fun holiday to work at work, but it's Thanksgiving, and my wife doesn't have family out there, and it could have been really difficult for her to have Thanksgiving by herself, right? I wasn't getting home until 2:00. So Lauren actually flew out that year, had Thanksgiving with us. We had a friend drive down from San Francisco that we went to college with. And we made a big deal on Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving morning, like, had a big brunch. Thanksgiving, I went to work after brunch and then came back. And then Friday we had our Thanksgiving. The same thing we would have done the day before. And I don't think we watched football. I don't think there was football on that day, but we did everything the same that following day that we would have done the day before. And it didn't really make a difference because we were all there. So doing small things like that, if you work nights, and most people in this industry, when they start, are going to work a lot of nights, make the most of your mornings, right? It's nice to sleep in, get it. Like if you're up until 4 a.m. at some hotels, you want to sleep. But if you can do anything between 10 o'clock in the morning and the time you got to go back to the hotel, do it. Whether it's go for a run, do yoga, play football with your friends, whatever it is, use that time to do that, because that can help you maintain normalcy when you're working odd hours. It happens. It's going to happen at any point in your career. And yeah, it definitely took me a few years to figure that out, but I'm glad I did. And I'm glad I had people around to support me. And, again, it's easier now that there's a ton of people around, that I can see on the weekends or my days off, whatever they may be. It was difficult on holidays, leaving everybody and saying, I'll see you tomorrow. But make it your normal. Make it, my wife growing up, her mother was a nurse, and they did the same thing. If she worked Christmas on Christmas Day, then they did a lot of things on Christmas Eve. I've been fortunate that I work with a lot of great people in my career, and we would take, especially at the Marquee, we'd print out a holiday sheet and say, okay, mark down what your most important holiday is, mark what your second most important holiday is, and we'll try to at least get everybody to have one holiday off if we all cover for each other. And that makes a little bit, but it makes a big difference.
That's really good advice. Thank you. So my class here is lodging operations and luxury hotels. They are mostly juniors and seniors. So they are getting ready to do some internships or to graduate and go out into the world, into the industry that you love so much. So to wrap up, what's the best piece of advice that you could give them?
When you have the opportunity to completely immerse yourself in it, completely immerse yourself in the industry. Right? Make sure you have the time to set aside. Make sure you have the opportunity to say, hey, if I'm the one, if you need a 6 day out of somebody, I'm the one to pick it up. I want to take on anything that you'll give me. The best advice that somebody gave me when I first started out is be a sponge as much as you can be a sponge. So if you have the opportunity to shadow a bellman for a day, shadow the bellman for the day. If you have the opportunity to sit on a rooms meeting where they talk about what the rate in the city is, or what the rate in your market is, and what your sales strategy is going to be, take that opportunity. I would take my laptop from my desk, because they would do a sales strategy meeting at the Marquee with everybody from the New York market, and they knew I was there, so it was okay. And I'd move to a table near where they were sitting talking about the meeting, just so while I was working, I could hear what they were talking about, because it was interesting to hear how other people in different roles in the industry look at the same thing that you're looking at. Spend a lot of time with the dishwasher, spend a lot of time with the bar back. They're the people that know exactly what's going on, and they're probably the people that have been at that hotel the longest. And those are the people that you really want to learn from and take a lot away from. You learn some good and some bad, but you'll win the battle of the hearts and minds of people when you show that you genuinely care about them, and you genuinely take the time to sit down with them and spend 5 minutes out of your day asking them, how's your family? Tell me about your job. Because if somebody's been doing their job for 15 years, trust me, they're going to tell you all about it. And sponge all of that up and take in everything and pay attention. In a luxury environment, you need to pay attention to the details. So completely and fully immerse yourself in that in every way possible.
That is great advice. Thank you for sharing it with us. And thank you for being here today. This was so special that you could do this, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. I'd love to be there in person, but this will do great too as well. If there's anybody,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if there's anybody that you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm not very hard to find. My name is right there at the bottom. I think it shows up. You can find me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. I am more than happy, particularly right now where there's not a lot going on. I'm more than happy to answer any more questions that people have. I think it's important to take care of other people in the industry and particularly other people at Florida State. So if anybody has career advice, if you see job postings that look interesting to you and want to know more about them, please feel free to reach out to me.
Well, that's really nice of you. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll get you back here on campus next semester in person again. Ryan, thanks
That's
for
what I'm
spending
looking
this
for.
time with us today. And I look forward to seeing you next semester.
Thank you so much, Lydia. I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.